Welcome back. Welcome back to the Diary Room episode. Well, not really on time. So I guess it's 3.5.
Yeah,
Yeah.
we did
Three and a
it.
half. We made it. We made it here. We survived. Um, but it's 3.5, so that means we got a little bit of extra content this week. We're gonna be covering more episodes.
Real.
This is the only Big Brother show on 90.3 WMSC Upper Montclair. I cooked up a fresh batch of have not slop.
Womp womp.
I am wearing the cone of shame, the chef hat of shame, goofy chef hat. Um, yeah.
Why are you wearing the chef of
Unfortunately,
shame?
Matt was evicted and announced to myself, I did not know that Matt would immediately be targeted by the first HOH in a fashion that no other first exit has ever been evicted in before. Um, so therefore, I was stuck with the cone of shame. Unbeknownst to myself, I have to be a have not because I chefed up some slop. And now I'm wearing the chef hat of shame, the cone of shame. It might be different next week. You never know. Well, not next week, actually, because next week is Oswald's turn to be have not. However, this week I'm be sitting with my chef hat of shame in the diary room
We have
because I
three
made a bad
chefs.
pick.
There's three chefs in the house now.
Three chefs. And well, not anymore, actually.
Dun dun dun.
There's still only two. But we'll get to it in this episode of the Diary Room.
Diary room, diary room, diary.
Starting off, we're just going to get straight into it. We're going to jump right in. Who won the HOH comp? Miss Mole.
This is real. This is real. So last Sunday, so after the reason for the cone of shame, Matt is evicted from the house. Who is next to win the HOH competition? But one Chelsea,
Woo! Yeah.
which is a
Yeah.
win. Ultimately, a win for Chris. For Chelsea's on his team. She wins this animal video competition that is referenced later on, but I forgore most of the competition. No offense to the competition, I do not remember. But Chelsea does win this competition, and this is something that I remember. And we're going to talk about why. Why did she win that? Because, so, I mean, one thing to note is the week before, she was a mascot, so her game was downgraded from premiere night and didn't really have much power to do anything, like less than a regular average house guest last week. And now she's the HOH, which I think is a fun comeback story.
Yeah.
But did Chelsea have to win this? I don't
She
know.
did because of one, Leah. It seems that she is a very divisive force within the house.
Hmm.
And by divisive, I mean she has one or two allies. Well, three allies, actually. She's got a small circle small, but Chelsea does not trust her.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, Chelsea only stayed in the competition because she was in it, and she ended up winning. Leah did get close, um, as everyone loves to remind us, because for some reason, whenever they're doing a competition, they're like, Leah's gotten so close to winning.
She's
She hasn't
almost a
won. She's
threat.
almost the threat. She's like, she's she's
Beware of her.
the most non-threatening threat in the entire house.
Keep your eye out on
Keep
her
your
because she
eyes.
may do
She
something,
might.
maybe.
There's a chance
There's a
that she
chance.
might do something. Um, but yeah, we had a Chelsea victory. Woo! At the end. True or false? She sure did true them falses and false them trues. Because she won competition so good, and my draft pick just goes to show how my draft picks were absolutely great. Maybe I'm a chef in the fact that I can cook up the greatest BB 26 lineup,
Mm-hmm.
possibly.
But that's what got you the hat.
Yep.
So moving on from
Maybe
that.
maybe Matt leaving was all part of the plan.
Yeah,
Maybe
probably.
he wasn't meant to be.
But Chelsea was.
Hmm.
Well, beyond draft picks, though, the fact that Chelsea won, I've got no complaints.
Yeah.
Yeah, based on like just, the gameplay and whatever, I thought that was a good win.
Yeah. I mean, I really like the way she's playing the game. I kind of everybody in the Pentagon. That's like my favorite section of the house
Hmm.
currently. Um, Anywhere that Angela isn't, I guess I'll be rooting for. Um, so
Well, clearly
we
Angela is not in this. For
I don't think she wants to be in
I
it.
don't think she does,
She
but
thinks it's fake.
she
You could tell her straight up, and she'll be like, "That's not real.
not
You can't fool me."
it's not real. That
Yeah.
alliance is not real. Well, you could tell that they are not aligned for there are nominations, and again this season, the HOHs are I can't think of the word. They were given this gift of nominating not two but three people.
Mm.
So Chelsea ends up nominating
We get
and
Angela. So surprising.
what?
Kenny,
What?
what? And Lisa, what?
What?
That's not very surprising in the grand scheme of things. The house does not like Lisa. I think there's like two people who have voiced their liking for Lisa. It was Timo, and I don't even know if there was another one.
I don't even remember.
But we've got very many people who have vehemently expressed their dislike for her. Uh, like Tucker.
That's the
Tucker.
big one.
That's the big one.
and, and Tucker.
Tucker. Matt, when he was here, Cam. Cam doesn't like her.
Hmm.
Um, he was a part of the group of people who were, hey, do you guys want to get food? When they were have-nots.
Yeah.
That was not a good look for her.
She was kind of that was something. That was
Yeah.
something for Lisa to do.
And people sort of saw her as a threat as well because she won a veto.
That's
So,
true. And unlike Leah, who was almost sort of close to getting it, Lisa actually got it week one.
that's very true. But prime target nonetheless. If you
Hmm.
don't, if you're not liked by the house and you won a competition, You're going up. So, rolling over to Wednesday, another Lisa classic, the veto episode. But before we get to the veto, we had what what happened, Mo? What happened, Mo?
What happened? Okay.
We had
So though Lisa may be who is stared upon this week, that does not mean that Angela stays under the radar in the slightest. Let me know if I have this group incorrect, because I wrote from memory, and sometimes the memory doesn't memory. But so Angela's in. First of all, this was caught on the live feeds, and my household, we weren't quite sure if they were going to air this, and I'm kind of glad that they did in the end, where Angela looks out upon the hammock next to Quinn.
on the hammock.
Lucky Quinn is involved in this, and there's a group of house guests that are hanging out there. I believe it's Chelsea, Cedric, Cam, Rabina, and T-Core. It's definitely Cedric, definitely T-Core.
It's definitely T-Core. I don't
And
know. I know Chelsea was there. I don't know
mhm,
about Rabina though.
I don't know about Rabina.
I'm not 100%
Okay, I think
sure.
Cam was there. But but she tells Quinn to look out for them, or something along those lines. Look out for that
hmm
group of people. And Quinn's just like, okay. Like Quinn is still in this point of like, oh, I wanted to align myself with an emotional player, but then Angela ended up being Angela. So now Quinn, side note, is referenced in a later episode, me and my 30 alliances or something like that. Because Quinn is basically aligned with the majority of the household in different alliances, which could be
hmm
good or bad. But in this situation, Quinn is, you know, good friends and works with T-Core. So he went to T-Core and was like, you know, this is a comment that Angela made. So, you know, just letting you know. And then T-Core talks to Angela about it. And then Angela gets mad at Quinn. I need to talk to you for a second. Tells Lisa to wipe that smirk off her face. And then she just talks to Quinn and it's like, why would you tell T-Core about what I said? And then they're talking in the bathroom and
And then
T-Core comes
T-Core
in.
shows up.
T-Core shows up and starts talking, because then essentially what happens is now T-Core is talking to Angela about, you just picked out the people on the hammock and said to look out for them. Do you know what this looks like? Because they happen to all be house guests of color, and Angela of no color is just sitting there. Because the problem is okay, for context, in the back a couple seasons ago we had the Cookout
The cookout.
Alliance,
hmm
where the main goal of the alliance was to have a black house guest win the season. And they did it, and it
And
was
they
fantastic.
succeeded.
They succeeded, which was awesome. I really loved that season. I loved that all the house guests came together for something bigger than the game, and it was a success. The only problem is then in seasons afterwards, in the back of people's mind, people are wondering, well, is anyone in the house unifying over something like that? And then, so of course, T-Core looks at this and is thinking, this is a race thing, Angela. But when this is brought up to Angela, she does not enjoy this, because she says she did not intend on any of this, which I have to say I do believe. I personally don't
Yeah, no, she
believe
definitely didn't. She
there
just
was
can't keep her mouth shut.
exactly,
That's the problem.
because then there's waterworks and there's crying and there's freaking out, and I can't remember exactly what she said, but it was like, it wasn't exactly like, how dare you accuse me of that, but it essentially was like that. She made it
Yeah.
about her, the
No, she
white
did make it
woman.
all about her.
And I mean, honestly, I feel though that you're on national TV. Clearly, she's not afraid to cause waves and call
Yeah.
Matt crazy eyes and anything like that. But beyond that, that was not her intent, is not anything race related.
Yeah.
So
And
she,
T-Core obviously, she told her, she was like, I'm not trying to call you out or anything, but
Yeah.
this is how it can be interpreted. That's what she said, like verbatim,
And
basically.
then she still freaked out.
And she still freaked out. And she was like, I can't believe you're saying this to me. Blah, 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 blah. She didn't even say anything to you. She
Hmm.
literally just told you, like, hey, that's a little weird, dude. And she turned a freaking molehill into a mountain. And yeah. And then she starts gripping on Cedric's shoulders, like,
I love you, Cedric.
I would never say that to you.
And like I love Cedric. Like at this point
He
in the
was so
game,
confused.
I don't know much about his gameplay at this point at this episode, but I just like him. He just seems like some sweet young dude. And he's just here like in the kitchen like, "It's okay." What? Like he has
He
no
had
idea what
no
just
idea what
happened.
was
He's like, "I
happening.
love you too." What is going on? He's got no context in the middle of the kitchen. I don't someone else was there too, just like, okay. And she goes to the diary room to kind of like cool off, and then they end up having a heart to heart after where T-Core is wearing these giant sunglasses, standing in the doorway, and they talk, which is good. Some people there was some speculation online was Angela encouraged to have that conversation with T-Core by like production. I obviously don't know the people in person, but I feel like at some point Angela was so distracted by I'm on national television and I don't want to come off as racist that she just freaked out about that first without thinking about, oh my goodness, this is how it could come across. Side note though, I know people, it might have even been before this, that fans were looking out for Angela's job and they started contacting her work and like her boss and everything, and they were telling them, like get rid of Angela because of this and this. I think it may have been more Matt related at the time, but even Angela's boss was like, calm down, guys.
See, this is why I don't like the internet.
Yeah.
This is why I don't like the internet because I like people always talk about how this is just a game and Angela's overreacting, but then the people on the internet go right ahead and do stuff like this
Yeah.
when it's just a game
Which is
and
it?
it's just a TV show. So what is it? Is it not? Is it real? Like she's not even saying anything.
Mm-hmm.
In all honesty, like this is their beef for like who cares? What does that have to do with her job?
I think we
Even
should.
if
Mm-hmm.
even on top of everything she said about the people on the hammock, like it
Mm-hmm.
it's just so dumb. It's just stupid. Everything she does is dumb, and everything the people on the internet do is also stupid. That's that's my takeaway from this whole situation.
That's Chris's anti-internet
Anti-internet.
monologue.
I hate the internet, guys.
I think
Um,
something like that should be reserved for those who actually do things.
exactly.
We've had other
Exactly.
seasons where people are genuinely racist.
Hmm.
As recently as last season, someone was kicked out for using a slur. It's like, okay, that's legit issues. With this, okay, take a breather. She's a character on a show who maybe made a comment that could be misinterpreted, but for that reason though, I am glad that they aired that conversation because regardless, people did see it on the live feeds, so there was already a
Hmm.
little bit of like murmurs online on the internet that Chris hates about the situation. So I'm glad that they addressed it because a lot of things are, they happen on the feeds and then they don't always make the edit. But moving on to other things that
The
did make the edit, that did make the edit.
who did?
There's Tucker,
This is my favorite part of the
my
episode.
love. Do you want to talk
This,
about it then?
I love this part because Tucker willed his way into figuring out that Mackenzie has a power with Zero backing, zero evidence, nothing. What he starts walking up to people and he just starts using his freaking Professor X brain waves, reading their minds, chooses Mackenzie from the crowd, and is like, I know you have a power. And she folded because so Tucker figures out by sheer willpower that Mackenzie has a power just because. This is why I love Tucker. This is
That was
why I drafted him.
such an epic move.
I might have like a superhero
You
on
don't
my.
have Tucker.
Yeah, you have
I
Tucker.
have
Oh, you
Tucker.
have Tucker.
I
Oh
drafted the
my
superhero
God.
because you got Quinn.
Yeah, I have Quinn. Well, he's also kind of a superhero.
We both
It's
have
okay. We both have those
Uri.
are our power plays.
Our,
Our our
but I also
our
have
star
Mackenzie.
players. That's true. You got both. You got a little bit of an infighting going on, man.
I
We might
love
have to
when
iron that out.
yeah, my own team is fighting amongst themselves. Now, I thought that was a really epic move. It's just kind of like, yeah, let's just do this. Let's just ask about this. And like you said, she just gave into
She
it.
just folded.
Like, okay. So so now he knows. I
Mm.
can't even keep track of who knows about her power. I don't think she's
I feel like
always like truthful in what the power entails. So at least there's a little bit of like question mark.
I'm pretty sure everybody like I'm there's no way that everybody doesn't know at
Yeah.
this point because she told Matt, she told Leah, she told well Tucker figured it out. Um and with like that many people, I mean, and everybody that I'm pretty sure she also told Chelsea, no?
Yes. Oh
Yeah.
gosh.
She
Yeah,
told
she did.
Chelsea. So
In hopes
Chelsea's gonna
that
spread that information
yeah.
because she has alliance members. So like at least like 60% of the house knows about her power.
Which
Um
is sometimes used for like, hey, don't put me up because I could just take myself off. At least
mhm.
like to their knowledge, but also on the other side, why wouldn't someone be like, oh well, I just want to get rid of the power. So there you
Well,
go.
we will get to that.
That's
That
true.
is a big point in Sunday.
We'll get
Um,
to it.
but we're not there yet.
Not yet, because we're still on
So on the
Wednesday.
veto, the veto did happen, and we had Big Ken, Big Ken coming out on top,
Not Ken Ken.
slaughtering the competition. He won that by a landslide.
He
Uh,
did. So watching this was the Code Tower competition. Watching it, I unfortunately was spoiled and I knew who won it beforehand.
oh, really? I
But
didn't
so
know.
I was watching it and noticed that so basically they had to take these discs, so like these circles, but also these plates, and they had to stack them up in a code tower. And there were, they do the montage where people make it really far and then
Hmm.
their stuff falls and then they have to start all over again. They never once moved to Kenny because he was just a rock star at it the entire time. They couldn't even edit something to make it look like he was failing. All they could do was ignore him and he just like beast
Show
mode.
him right as he was about to finish. I thought it
And
was about to fall for him, but
mm,
nope.
well, he just
Um,
had a good strategy.
Solid win by Kenny. Unfortunately, like when you don't really have that many allies, like a win like that doesn't really go that far.
Hmm.
I kind of feel bad, but we'll see how his game plays out. Um, so he
Well,
gets taken down,
hmm.
and Mr. Tucker, that if Angela was actually good at the game, I guess you could say, because they play very similar games, at least from what I've noticed.
Hmm.
Um, They're very like chaos oriented, and I'm gonna try and rile up people, but he doesn't go as far as Angela does.
Mm,
And so Tucker actually volunteers to be a pawn.
which is something.
Now, I kind of agree with him in this case. I kind of agree with him because one, he wanted to play an AI arena. So that was it was a risky move, but he knew that he had the chance to take himself down.
Mm,
So he could fight for it, which we'll get to the outcome of AI arena later. But I think it's worth noting that the fact that he volunteered to go up and the fact that he's trying to like force his resume. And I think the people who do that will get a lot more respect from their fellow house guests as long as they play smart enough socially,
mm.
if you know what I mean.
No,
Like
that's a good point.
he's really trying to get himself in these competitions so that he could just win them for nothing, basically.
Mm-hmm.
So moving on to Thursday, what happens?
What happens?
Let's see the outcome of this gamble.
Well, it is true, because at this point, it is Angela versus Lisa versus Tucker in the AI arena, and someone loves puzzles.
Someone loves puzzles.
Loves puzzles, which
It
was
was the
so
perfect
funny.
competition.
It was, they like assembled, it was some kind of puzzle with like big pieces and whatever, and Tucker dominates and says, I love puzzles. He loves
I'm pretty
biscuits and
sure
puzzles.
his pieces were actually like set up. Like everybody else's pieces were scrambled. I saw this online somewhere. So everybody else's pieces were scrambled, but his pieces were like put in the same what like he just had to pick them up. And I'm not sure if the other people were like that too,
Mm.
but apparently all of his pieces that he had to put down were in order. Like the
Oh.
bottom of the bottom layer was like the three bottom layer, like the top pieces on his pile were the bottom layer, and then the second layer. I didn't peep the other house guests to see if it was that, but I did notice that his were in the order. So
Hmm. I'm gonna have to
interesting,
check that out.
interesting, interesting tidbit.
We always have to question production
Yeah.
because it was of course favored that he would win. You know, even if at this point Lisa is the target,
hmm
but Angela, no one would be opposed to her going either. It was the one where like Tucker needs to get off. And so, who knows? I'll check it out. I know that there's been questions of are we accusing production of rigging something? Not necessarily, but not. So I'll look out for that. But he does love puzzles, and he
hmm
wins. And his hair looked glorious. It was back in a braid. I may be slightly in love with Tucker, but we'll move on from that. So then they go downstairs, and everyone's like, "Yeah, go Tucker!" And then 30 seconds goes by. And Julie's like, well, I guess you're not using those 30 seconds to talk to your house guests. I can't. It was week two, and I don't understand this AI arena. So one person wins the arena, everyone goes downstairs and cheers, and then Julie Chen expects all the house guests to immediately go into little rooms and start like fighting for like, oh, like don't vote for me and
Votes.
whatever
Yeah.
in like the 30 seconds before she asks everyone to sit down. This is week two that there's an AI arena, and I don't understand why she does this. And I don't know if you've noticed it, but
Yeah,
I am like so confused
I
by it.
have. I think that they expected it. I mean, they're trying to like get the house guests like normalize kind of using those 2 minutes. It's 2 minutes, right? I believe. Pretty sure it's around about that.
Sure.
Because
I feel like
I
it's like
remember
two
there was like
seconds.
discussion about it where she was like, well, it's like the same amount of time. Somebody said like, well, it's the same amount of time as a double eviction. And she was like, it's slightly more actually. Um, but maybe we'll see it be more effectively used later in this season.
Maybe.
Like we get some more split decisions. Um, but I feel like picking out specific people to talk to kind of like blows the cover if anyone's trying to be
Hmm.
like secretive or anything, which
Everyone's just
is
in
why
the room
people,
staring.
yeah, doesn't want to like do anything because then you might put a target on your back unintentionally and nobody really wants to do
Hmm.
that. So Julie Chen is mad that people aren't using their time. And we move right to the eviction
We
where
do.
we get a almost landslide 11-1. Lisa, you are evicted from the Big Brother house. And they do the string.
The they zoom into her face, and her face is shook.
Yeah, they were both shocked because we got a little Angela knew she thought she was going home.
Hmm.
She pulled out all the stops in her speech before the
Hmm.
evictions. She's like, I love you all. I want to play the game with you guys. That's how she talks.
She
I don't know
does.
if you noticed,
She
but like she
does.
talks like she's like waves. She's like, I love you all, and then she like pauses, and she's like, I want to play the game with you guys. I love you all. That's how she talks. And
Chris for best Angela
it
impression.
drives me insane. Um,
It's like she's lovely and appreciative of every moment she has in the house,
but she's also the
except
most
for not for you, not you though. It was
or
really just
Quinn.
Matt. I guess right after is just Matt. Yeah, now
Now with
her and Quinn
Quinn.
are rocky.
Final two. I don't
But
think they
that's
have a
where
final two anymore.
two. So then the Lisa vote. So you said it was 11-1. The one was
One,
Kenny, which
but
we'll talk
that's
about. It comes back.
morbidly obvious. I
But
think everybody in the house knew.
so the rest of the house though, so they all vote together. But some of them did sound reluctant.
Yeah,
I think it was
1000%.
was it T-Core or
Definitely
Quinn or both that were like,
what to
well,
evict Angela
no, to evict Lisa. Like it sounded
or
like they were hesitant.
oh yeah,
They were like,
yeah.
we
I
have
meant
to.
like yeah. Well, I I know obviously Mackenzie and Leah were they were both
Oh
like they
yes,
both
yeah,
hesitated. There was a lot. It was a very crazy vote because I thought it would be split.
yeah.
Like I was very well thinking it was about to be like freaking what it was 11-1, so
Hmm.
it could have very well been a tie, and we
Yeah.
would have probably had Chelsea ended up going with Lisa anyway. But
Hmm.
um,
I was
I
surprised.
thought it would have been a tie or like a 6-4 or something like that, but it wasn't. Um, and we ended up getting a Lisa eviction, which I'm not mad at. Um,
I'm not mad either
yeah, she's just kind of like she wasn't she didn't bring anything or besides glitter to the house.
to the dinner
Um,
table.
not even the house, just the dinner
Just
table.
the dinner table. I
And
mean,
and Matt's abs that one
and
time.
I mean, I based on what I've seen of her, just so neutral on her.
Yeah.
And honestly, the truth is, between Angela and Lisa, either way, the house was in luck because a decent target was gonna still stay in the house, but a
Mhm.
decent target was gonna get out of the house as well. So
Yeah.
shout out to Chelsea for creating the like really the
Most
perfect
neutral.
plan.
That was the
Like,
perfect HOH. Perfect week two. Because usually during week two, that's when you're finding the targets. But since
mhm.
we came out guns blazing so hard, we already had a whole slew of people with like pretty decent backgrounds to look at
Hmm.
and target. So she got off scot-free. Everybody loves Chelsea. Love you, girl. Thanks for being so awesome. Um, yeah, but I'm glad I got a very clean week. She's doing her job. She was playing her part on my team. So hands for Chelsea. But
I
that's not all we have for the week.
That's true,
What are your
but
thoughts? But do you have any overall wrap thoughts for this week?
I have one more thing as you speak about how your draft was clean or Chelsea was HOH. My draft, my pick Angela was almost out, but not quite. She survives, which I am impressed because there's been a trend of first HOHs being evicted week 2. So
Mm-hmm.
good for Angela, though I don't think it was any of her doing. It was just someone else's doing was worse.
Yeah.
So I do want to address what was played live at the end of the episode, which is Angela's another speech. Thank you guys so much for keeping me in the house. And she's freaking out, and she's so appreciative of all these people keeping her. Meanwhile, there's like Mackenzie and Leah who are like rolling their eyes because Angela doesn't realize that she was not kept in the house. Someone else was just evicted.
Just evicted.
It just so happens that they could not get rid of two people, but
And if they could, they would have.
they would have.
They
But
1 billion% would
they
have.
would have. So Angela was under the impression she was leaving, and Lisa was very much not, which they talk about a little more in the next episode, which is what Chris was alluding to, is because today we're talking about not 3, but 4 episodes.
Mm.
Because we had another Sunday episode just the other day. And in there, they replay Angela's speech as well, where they're essentially they admit that and Lisa admits too, she had no idea that she was leaving the house, which then Quinn brings up is a great point, is okay, now I know I can't trust the house because the entire house looked at Lisa and said, "You're good," and then she's sitting out there with Julie. So it's a good thing to know. Because I was
Yeah.
gonna say I'm a little disappointed. Week 1 was so chaotic in a good way, where I mean, as entertainment wise, I thought it was pretty
It
good.
kickstarted the game.
And it
We
wasn't
weren't
all
playing.
unanimous,
Yeah.
which was awesome. Like unlike how it's been for recent seasons. But then week 2 we go back to 11-1, so there's a clear majority. From a
But I think,
standpoint of who I want to stay, that's fine.
yeah.
But I'm hoping that we aren't so unanimous moving forward again. I
But
want to be on the edge of my seat.
I do want to add something to this
Please
because
do.
I think that even though it was unanimous, it wasn't boring.
That's true.
Like usually, like on those weeks where it is a unanimous vote, you know who's going home. This
Yeah.
wasn't really the same thing. We kind of got like blindsided by the producers because by the way everything seemed, we thought that she was either good or it would have been a closer vote. And
That's
it
true.
ended up being neither of those.
Hmm.
So I think that's interesting to note because and along with all of the other drama going on in the house, there's still a lot of unresolved tension between everybody who's not working together.
Mm.
And even with Quinn and Angela, if they're still working together, but who
Yeah.
knows? But I think it's interesting to note that because it's not quite the same
That's
as
true.
the other like weeks where like you had a obvious target who was just out by the end of the week guaranteed.
Hmm.
Um, so good job producers for picking those house guests because you picked an interesting batch.
Hmm.
This is my
That's for
favorite
certain.
season in a long time. I'm already super excited to watch the rest of this play out.
Me too. Again, I think that is an important note of I like when things aren't super unanimous, but that's true. Going into the episode, again, I would prefer my draft pick not be eliminated, but based on just watching it, I kind of went in with an open mind of okay, either way, it's gonna be
What
okay. And
happens
they're
if Angela gets out?
I mean, I'm glad that she's staying because
Yeah,
she's gonna yap.
she
But
does cause a lot of. She is the reason why we're having this conversation right now. I can't even lie.
it's true.
So, I guess I have Angela to thank for one thing.
Thank you, Angela.
Thank you for making the game interesting.
And so and so we move on to Sunday.
Woo, Sunday bonus episode. It's
Bonus episode
bonus
because the
time.
beginning of this we addressed who last week's HOH was, and now to address as well, since Lisa was evicted, we have a new have not of the week, which is no longer Chris. So if you want to remove the hat of shame,
The hat of shame is gone right now.
perhaps
All
if you
right.
would like to, if you would like to join me in the halves for our secret third option, our computer generated draft option Oswald. His pick was Lisa. And so Chris and I are halves for the week. Oswald is a half not, and we are in the clear. And so we move on to who is the next HOH? None other but my number one draft pick for the season, Cedric wins.
Woo!
And kind of wins by miles. This was one of those competitions where they have to press buttons, but they have to run on these like balance beams. Very, very Olympics moment. And they have to strategically press these buttons to get as many points as possible. Quinn was doing well for a while, but Cedric just like sweep the competition, and so Cedric wins. And Angela loves Cedric.
Yeah.
I love you, Cedric. But
I love you, Cedric.
so that's the main big point of the episode, aside from the nominations, which we will get to. But one thing that happens really early in the episode, you're talking about the vote from the previous week. So people could kind of put together that the one vote that wasn't against Lisa was Kenny.
Yeah.
Kenny admits this to Angela, which I thought was an interesting move.
Well, who's Angela gonna? The thing about I feel like Kenny and Angela are kind of like two sides of the same coin. Like
Mm,
they both don't really have any real allies,
yeah.
except Angela does it to herself, and
hmm
Kenny just kind of unfortunately got put in that situation.
Because he was in a showmance with Matt, and then Matt got
Yeah.
evicted. But normally, it's not like you don't always admit to someone, "Hey, I voted you out." But I thought that this was a pretty good move because even Angela, I think in her diary room session, was like, "Oh, cause so he's alone." Like it was kind of, I feel like it was better for him to say that to her than for her to go on and just be like, "Yeah, I know." Like obviously Kenny voted me out, and now I hate him because clearly he did it because that's where he thought that the house was going to be, not so much that he hates her. Though I don't think he's a huge fan of her,
No.
again, because of the situation between, like, oh, I need you to kick butt at this competition to get Matt's butt out of here. And Kenny's like, what? Like, no, bro. So anyway, I know they're not friends, but maybe they could align. I don't know. I don't think it's gonna happen, but
Mm.
I think that it wasn't a bad move for him to tell her that.
Yeah. I mean, I'm kind of in the same boat, but I also I want to see more Kenny working together with like the people he wants to. I just kind of feel bad for him, in all
Mm-hmm.
honesty. Like he's trying to get on the radars of like important people like Cedric. Um,
Mm-hmm.
because we did have another thing happen in this episode where Cedric and Kenny sort of had a little heart to heart and they told each other about their lies. Um,
Mm-hmm.
so contrary to popular belief, Kenny is not a food truck owner.
What?
I crazy huge revelation. They need to start doing that. They need to start they need to like maybe the producers could ask them what their lie wanted to be. So like it would be a surprise for both the house and the watcher, which hey, you know what I mean? Like
Like if they didn't tell us
imagine they
his
didn't
job.
like yeah, imagine like he played it off in his like pre whatever,
Mm-hmm.
his like when they're introducing the house guests,
Yeah.
they like say he's a food truck person and he goes into the house like a food truck person. And then we
Mm-hmm.
get like this moment right here between Cedric and him, and it's like a real show. It's like, holy what? Like, oh my gosh,
Mm-hmm.
Kenny is a cop and Cedric is a freaking Marine. And you just kind of
Mm-hmm.
learn that at the same time. I think that would be cool, but it'd probably be pretty hard to pull off, I can't lie.
I think it would be interesting,
But it
but
would
the
be interesting.
what we did have with this though, we've known for now like a week or two, ever since premiere, that Cedric knew that Kenny was more than just a food truck guy because of his
Hmm.
tattoo.
Yeah.
But no one would know that Cedric would know that. So Kenny didn't know that he would know. So that gave us like day one insight into Cedric and how smart
It
he
was day
is,
one.
which
That
was
was day
good.
one. I forgot
Which
about that.
was so funny because Kenny's big thing is like, yeah, I'm not gonna tell anyone I'm an undercover cop. And then Cedric's just there like,
Undercover cop.
so anything, so what's up with this? So like Cedric knew immediately. I was surprised that they did have that conversation because I didn't know if Cedric would use it, like just put it in his back pocket.
Uh-huh.
Like, oh, I could out him at any time because he's so confident in it. Because again, like
Oh
he
no.
just knows. But yeah, they end up talking about it.
And I think that from now on, they'll hopefully, I mean, I have a feeling that Kenny might become like they're like ace in the hole. Like Cedric is Pentagon, right? Cedric is Pentagon. He's Pentagon. Yeah, he is Pentagon
Yeah.
aligned. Uh-huh. Because he talked about it after he won the HOH. Forgot
Hmm.
about that. Sometimes still working out alliances, but
We'll get there.
he might be like the linchpin hexagon when they need him to pop out and show. Like maybe he'll be like the pinch hitter for their
Hmm.
alliance if they need that extra vote. Um,
Yeah.
so he does have a role. Um, at least he's not completely alone.
And
That's
so we will come back to the outcome of that conversation, I suppose, because we're gonna talk about the nominations. But before we get into that, there's a couple other things that I picked up on in the episode. One funny one was that Angela said that Lisa left her glitter. I wonder maybe they'll like put it up on a shelf or something and just stare upon it and remember what once
yeah.
was. It'd be funny if like Tucker just took it out
Yeah,
one day.
I was just thinking about that. I was literally thinking like, what if Tucker just like dumps it out in somewhere,
It's like
throws
I
it in
don't need
like
this memory. They think
he would though. That
there's
would be
two
something he
chefs
would
in the
do.
house. It's funny that I think Lisa made a comment saying she thought that there were three chefs. Was it Lisa or Matt? I can't remember now. Only two
I
people have been
think I
evicted.
remember who you're talking about actually.
She's like, I thought there were three, but alas, now there are one,
Now there are one.
and Tucker could do with the glitter as he pleases. But one more comment about Lisa is so at this point, it seems like the entire house does not know where both of these powers lie. Some people were still thinking that Lisa had a power, but they fear they will never know because she was evicted. Because so Tucker was one for two when he accused Mackenzie of having the power, but he also accused Lisa of it before. And Lisa truthfully said she does not, but I don't think he believes her, but he also just straight up didn't like her. So now they have no idea, some of the house guests have no idea if there are still two powers in the house. Though it seems like the majority knows about Mackenzie's power. I believe at some point Chelsea did tell Cedric. So the HOH knows about Mackenzie's power, and then the other half of the house does know about Quinn's. I think I read somewhere online that as of sometime in the last week that Chemo was the one person who knew about both powers at the
I
same
was
time.
about to say, I didn't know if we were gonna venture into this territory.
I did.
Spoiler territory.
Well, because it was before the latest episode aired, so these things happened. I
Hmm.
think when Lisa was still in the house, so I
Yeah.
I consider that if you don't know already,
This is
sorry.
probably tonight. I think
Oh,
this is gonna be shown tonight.
well, if
The
they
whole thing with
do,
chemo, because there's more to it. I'm
mm,
aware of the rest of the story. If you aren't, I'm not gonna say anything.
all right,
Um,
that'll
but I believe tonight we're gonna be getting some more emphasis on that because there is more to
mm,
it.
I want more
Um,
chemo. I want to
hmm
know what's going on.
I'm
Honestly,
pretty
I want more Rubina. Where is she? I
she's
forgot that Brooklyn existed when I was writing up my notes. Can't lie. I need more of these house guests that aren't there all the time. Because they're
but they're
there.
just not really doing anything
I
is the
know.
problem. Like we're getting big game moves from Tucker, we're getting big game moves from the HOHs. Maybe not as much Cedric as Chelsea was, because we'll get into the
Until.
outcome of tonight or last episode's night. But we're getting bigger game moves from these people, but we're not really like this is the first I'm glad that Chemo's getting involved in something finally because I want
Hmm.
to see more Chemo, but
Yes.
we're not seeing anything from these other house guests because they're just not doing anything.
The most we're seeing from a lot of these house guests is my note of showman's montage. That's all we're getting.
Like Cam, unfortunately. I wish to see more Cam, but
There's no Cam. I think Rubina was brought up in this. We don't see her very much. I know Leah was in there. She was brought up a lot, and then I feel like maybe not as much. No, that's such a lie. She's been brought up a lot.
Leah, yeah,
Then
I think
Leah's in this like not even a love triangle, just this complicated love mush.
yeah.
And so she's been brought up a lot, but then Tucker is brought up in this as well, and he's been brought up. And Chelsea was brought up because she's been HOH. But then Rubina's somewhere in there, and we're like, wow, Rubina mentioned. Like I I guess we're still at that point where there's so many house guests where you can't give them all the airtime.
Mhm.
But I feel like
Especially since there's so much going on.
there's certain ones that are just overlooked. Or bring them back. But the only because we'll talk about the nominations. So only note on showmance is there are non-showmances going on where people are kind of liking someone who likes someone else, but that person likes someone else. But it all started also with Mackenzie being like, I wonder if people were rooting for the showmance. I'm like, Mackenzie, Matt was here for 1 week, and now he's out of the house. But my favorite was on Matt's social media. He made a post about missing his showmance or something like that, and he like looked all like ponderous and
Hmm.
whatever. And the funny bit though was that the video was about Kenny and not Mackenzie, so that made me giggle. So good for you, Matt. That made me laugh. Some of his posts since post eviction have been very funny and silly. So who knows? Maybe they're pining for one another and they'll be there at the end of the house, the end of the game, whatever. I'm gonna move on from that. I'm gonna move on because we don't have much time left. We're
We
gonna
don't
talk
have
about
much time.
the nominations. Would you like to take that, Chris?
Big nominations this week. Just kidding.
Ah.
We actually had a situation in which Tucker wanted to do more. He wasn't he wasn't satisfied with last week getting to take himself off the block with the AI Arena. Tucker wanted to be nominated again with Mackenzie. He wanted to get nominated again, and he wanted Mackenzie to be on the block with
Mm-hmm.
him because he wanted to out her power.
Mm-hmm.
Smart move. Unfortunately, Cedric is the head of household.
Mm.
and he did not want to be on the block. Or I mean, he was the one calling the shots.
Mm-hmm.
My fault.
And he
Cedric was
went with
calling the shots, and he ended up going with the safe option.
pretty neutral options.
We can't have both. So Mackenzie avoided the block, and we got a another. What was it? It was Kenny. Kenny was nominated on principle,
So I've heard.
um, according to mole sources.
So the thing with Kenny is that if anyone watches the live feeds, which I don't, but I get Spark Notes, it sounds like Kenny is just like every time he doesn't win something, he wants to go home. He just talks about how he doesn't want to be in the house and he wants to go to his family.
Yeah.
And so people keep nominating him, though I don't think they're addressing this in the edits. They're nominating him because he wants to leave anyway, and I have to nominate 3 people. Let's just put him on the block. Which is why it was interesting, though, considering, Cedric and Kenny's backgrounds and their conversation. And so I was looking up, how do people feel about this? And it's like, yeah, he was nominated on principle of, well, we're friends and we could work together, but also you want to leave the house.
Yeah. I mean,
So that's why Kenny's up
it's
there.
just a weird spot for Kenny to be in. Like he's playing the game, but he's not playing the game.
Mm,
Which, like, whatever. I mean, I guess the fact that he's winning competitions isn't all that terrible because he's got some sort of fight in him. But it's just kind of strange. Weird situation to be in. But then we got Tucker up, who will once again be fighting for his life in this veto. If he wins, he's probably in the best spot right now. Um, but we also have another Angela
duh.
nomination. She's just
Yes,
kind of like,
and
is it is it's nominate Angela, it's nominate Kenny, and then it's nominate the flavor of the week. That's really what it is.
mhm.
And that's what it ended up being this week. So tonight, we're gonna find out who's winning that power of veto, baby.
We'll see who remains on the
Huge,
block.
huge veto. This is a big veto.
Hmm.
Might be interesting for the game because even if Tucker wins, I have a feeling that we might get a Mackenzie replacement nominee.
Perhaps. I want to see
Perchance.
them change. I
I
do want to
think
see them change. See
we'll
what
get a
Cedric would do.
double veto. Double veto.
That'd be
And then we
fun.
would have to figure out who America puts up,
Hmm.
which would be interesting. All that and more next week on the diary room. Usual
Yeah.
time, possibly,
Most
maybe,
likely.
most likely.
But if you want updates, we do have an Instagram at thediaryroom.wmsc where we post time changes and such. And we
And
will be
funny, silly
updating. We
memes.
do funny, silly memes. There's one that will
Mhm.
be up after this episode. It's funny to me, at least.
Yeah.
And next week we will have Oswald as the have not. And, only time will tell who our next have not is. So, update on draft picks. Lisa was an Oswald pick. Goodbye. So, Chris and Oswald are both down 1. And I am still victorious, but I shan't jinx it. But we'll find out more after tonight's episode, tomorrow's episode, and then the diary room. WMSC will be back this weekend.
Bye-bye.
Bye, guys!
Bye.
Bye!
Bye.